What's up, everybody? It's me, Chris, once again, here to talk about the fights that went down over this past weekend and on Thursday. All the fights pretty much, I wouldn't say I was correct on all my predictions, but for the most part, I said of the four fights, I thought the only exciting one really would be Cunningham, Adamek, and then the other ones might not be that exciting based on styles, and it pretty much played out that way, for better or worse. But let's get to it. First fight Thursday for the IBF Cruiserweight title was Tomasz Adamek winning a split decision over Steve Cunningham. This was a great fight. This was definitely one of the candidates for Fight of the Year. I don't know if it'll win that honor, because I think it might go to Rafael Marquez, Israel Vasquez 3, or possibly Cotto Margarito. But this was one of the best 3 to 5 fights I've seen this year by far. I thought it'd be a pretty good fight, but I didn't know it was going to turn out that good. So Adamek got 3 knockdowns in the fight. He knocked Cunningham down 3 separate times, which I think obviously was huge in him winning a decision, because I actually had the fight for Cunningham, although it was close. I don't really know exactly rounds or anything. I don't remember how I scored it, but I thought aside from the rounds that Adamek knocked Cunningham down in, I thought Cunningham controlled the rest of the fight. I thought he controlled the pace. He landed a lot of jabs. Kept Adamek on the outside, though Adamek did get in a lot, and was successful when he was, especially in the rounds where he knocked Cunningham down. But for the most part, I thought Cunningham just won a lot more rounds. 9-3, possibly 8-4. At best, I would have given Adamek a draw, but he got the decision. Also, along those lines, it was a split. And the judge that gave the fight for Cunningham, I forgot the person's name at the moment, but that the announcers had said how that judge early in the fight wrote a book on scoring and scoring fights. So I think they have a good idea of what they're talking about, and they voted for Cunningham. Whereas one, if not two, of the other judges were from New Jersey, which is Adamek's not from New Jersey. He's not the hometown fight or anything, but there was a huge contingent of fans there in New Jersey for Adamek, so I think the crowd may have had a bit of an influence on those judges. I can't state that as a fact, but that's just my opinion. Speaking of the crowd, though, they definitely added to the fight. It was a great atmosphere. They were very into it. They made the fight. It really created a lot of excitement throughout the fight. So props to the Adamek's fans, because they made the fight that much more enjoyable. But once again, I thought Steve Cunningham won the fight on I thought it was close, but I thought he should have deserved the decision. But, I'm no judge, so. Anyways, hopefully we'll get a rematch. Adamek didn't say when asked if he wanted a rematch or not, and Cunningham, of course, said he did. So hopefully we'll get another one, because that was a really good fight. And I'd like to see how a second fight between those two would turn out. Next fight, we have Wladimir Klitschko defending his IBF WBO heavyweight titles against Hasim Rahman. Alright, first thing I want to say about this fight, I said it about the Vitaly Klitschko-Sam Peter fight. It was the first thing I noticed right off the bat. The ring, the size of the ring. It is gigantic. It's like a volleyball court or a basketball court. The ring is huge. They're heavyweights, so they're bigger fighters, and the ring is still huge. If you see at the beginning during the announcements of the fighters, there's a lot of people in the ring, and there's still so much space. And the big ring is to benefit the Klitschkos. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You should take advantage of any, as I associate with Oscar De La Hoya and Manny Pacquiao, you should use any advantages you have. And since they promote the fights, the Klitschko brothers, they're going to set things the way they want them. The bigger ring is going to be advantageous to them, because they don't want to get caught up on the ropes. I'm not saying they don't want to, but I think it's better for them to keep the fight in the middle of the ring, especially Wladimir. I think he doesn't like to get pressured against the ropes or have his back against the rope. So with such a big ring, that's not really something he has to worry about as much. But anyways, that being said, that was just the first thing I noticed right off the bat. In regards to the fight, Wladimir won an easy decision. Or not an easy decision, he had an easy TKO, my mistake. It pretty much went how I thought it would, although I thought Rahman might have a little bit more offense, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. He was almost like a punching bag in there. There was a couple times where, actually there was more than a couple times, there was quite a few times where he would put his back on the ropes and just sit there and cover up and let Klitschko just tee off on him. And you would think maybe he's setting up for a counter or something, or try to, catch Klitschko, but that wasn't the case. He would just stand there with his hands up and just let Klitschko just punch away at him. I don't understand what his strategy was, if there was one at all. But he had nothing to offer, and Klitschko had nothing to fear from Rahman. So I actually think he probably could have ended the fight a lot sooner, Klitschko, if he would have pressed it. But that's not the way he fights anymore, in my opinion. I said before the fight that I think he fights somewhat reluctantly. He doesn't push it or push the pace like he used to in the past when he was a younger fighter. Another thing about Klitschko, I'm probably going to get a lot of criticism for this, but this is just my opinion. I don't enjoy watching his fights. They're not entertaining to me. They're not very inspiring, his performances. He does win quite handily his last few fights, but he just doesn't go out there and really tear guys apart the way I think he's capable of. He picks them apart systematically, wears them down, then takes them out late. But they're just very uninspiring performances, in my opinion. And also, I don't like that he does a lot of grabbing and holding, especially on the inside. Whenever fighters get inside, he holds them. He leans over on them like that, putting his full body weight on them, probably to tire them out. It's just something that's really bothersome to me as a fan. I don't know. Manny Pacquiao is a fighter. Every time he fights, it's exciting. Wladimir Klitschko, every time I see him fight, it's the exact opposite, and that's unfortunate. Because I think with the heavyweight division, a lot of people watch it because they're looking for a big knockout. And I don't know. Klitschko's fights just all look the same to me recently, and I don't know. But anyways, moving on. Toney wins a split decision over Oquendo. This fight, I didn't think it'd be very exciting, and it wasn't. I disagreed with the decision. I thought Oquendo should have won the decision. Actually, I thought he should have won unanimously. But unfortunately, I think it was a bit of a hometown decision, possibly. Not that Toney fights or is from Southern California, but he fights a lot in Southern California. He trains down there, and the crowd was definitely pro Toney. And I don't know, especially one of the scorecards I believe is 116, 110. Or actually, that was in regards to the Adamek Cunningham fight, I believe. There was a scorecard that was 116, 110 in that fight, which I thought was way off. But anyways, back to Toney Oquendo. I just thought that Oquendo did more, landed more punches, controlled more of the rounds. Toney just didn't look like the Toney of old. He looked more like an old Toney. The announcers mentioned numerous times throughout the fight his balance looked off. He wasn't able to effectively counter. He would set traps for Oquendo, but he was never very effective in them. He didn't really control many, if any, of the rounds. I'm not saying Oquendo was overly impressive, but I just thought he did enough to win the fight. But Toney got the decision, so I don't know. He'll fight again, but it doesn't look like he has much left at this point, in my opinion. So last up, we have Kendall Holt winning a split decision over Demetrius Hopkins. 3 or 4 fights over the weekend, split decisions. Pretty interesting. I actually thought Holt won this fight. I would have given a unanimous decision. I would have gone 8-4, maybe 7-5 rounds at most for Hopkins, giving Hopkins 5 rounds. But Holt looked more aggressive than usual, threw more punches than he usually does. Was an okay fight. It was better than I thought it would be, but it wasn't anything special or spectacular. Another thing I want to mention, though, all these fights this weekend all had good-sized crowds, and they all made the fights that much more better to watch, entertaining to watch, because the fights were more lively because of the crowd's enthusiasm and whatnot, including this fight. Either way, Holt did more in a lot of the rounds. Hopkins backed up a lot. He was effective with his jab when he did use it, and when he used a counter or a straight right behind it, but he just didn't do it enough. So from here on, it says Holt may face Tim Bradley next. That should be a good fight. Not sure who I think will win that, but I'm looking forward to it. That should be a good unification fight in the junior welterweight division. So that's it for now, guys. Till next time, I'm out of here. Bye.